on the do's and don'ts of professional communication with a focus on the legal field. Today I, Skan, and my colleague Kshitij are with our Honorable Professor Dr. Prasannanshu. With a wealth of experience and expertise, he serves as a professor at National Law University Delhi. He has also shared his knowledge at prestigious institutions like the Delhi Judicial Academy, Lok Sabha Secretariat, and the Delhi University. As a distinguished academic, he has chaired sessions, been a keynote speaker, and guided PhD candidates. Professor Prasannanshu's dedication to language and communication is evident through his workshops, conferences, and administrative group. Tune in to explore the fascinating intersections of linguistics and education with our esteemed guest.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this with me. From your experience as mentoring so many students across from the level of undergraduate studies to PhD researchers, what are some common mistakes that you have noticed that students often make while communicating to maybe the professors or maybe potential employers?
Of the common mistakes is that lack of preparation. Preparation is very important. As I say in one of the things your classmates have noted down as a quotation by me, that in life 4 C's are important. One is control, calm, composure, and communication. So first of all, you have to be calm, controlled, and by controlled means that you have to be in a relaxed state of mind. You have to be well prepared with equipment. If you come to meet someone, then go with your notebook, pen,
Yes.
or maybe your cell phone should be ready on which you can take notes,
Yes.
and your questions should be ready what you have to ask. So that is the way. You should be organized. You should be organized.
So, sir, we have noticed, like, while our previous communications, how you are able to network with so many people across the world, and something which you have told us that you talk to them in their own language and talk to them and make it very personalized for the people who you meet. So, sir, how did you gain this? How did you gain this networking skill, and how can we, as students, gain this networking skill and improve our skills in the in helping us get better connections?
I don't have any supernatural powers to speak in people's languages.
Yes.
There are more than 6,000 languages spoken in the world.
Yes.
But basically, if we talk to people with sympathy, empathy, understanding, appreciating their perspective, paying attention to all aspects of communication, like non-verbal communication, paralinguistics, and language, of course, then I think we can become better communicators. And also, I try to do a background study of their cultural differences in the patterns of communication, and you should give some scope for them for these differences, and you should also try to correct means to adjust according to their cultural practices of communication. This way you become a more acceptable communicator, more efficient communicator.
But so there's situations where you put on the spot. Maybe you have to meet someone and you have to make an impression or or like start talking to them at that very moment. So in those situations, how do you behave or act?
Means if I meet someone who is unknown and
Yes.
in another country, that's what you mean?
Yes, sir.
Not necessarily. Maybe like it's like a spontaneous opportunity to talk to someone who may be in your field, or maybe it is in some other field, but you are very interested to talk to them.
Start with talking about what is of interest to them. Look at the things from their perspective. That is called you approach. Suppose you meet a professor of psychology, then I should, instead of reeling out my achievements or my interests, should talk about what interests me in psychology.
Yes.
And listen very carefully. Listening is a very important point of communication. So it is not important to ask smart questions, or to answer smartly. It is very important to listen carefully.
Yes.
So, sir, You have also worked in media, so I think you would have interacted with people who were from fields different from your own. So how do you greet or behave with different types of professionals? Because as a potential legal professional, you would have to not only interact with other lawyers, but also with people who are coming from business or maybe technology, or maybe they are medical professionals who have some case of medical negligence against them. So how do we behave differently with different kinds of professionals?
In the society, we don't necessarily deal with only one type of communication and one type of people, one type of profession. We have to deal with multiple professions, people and circumstances. So our communication should follow the basic principles. You must have read about the 7 C's already. Follow those principles and also try to avoid the barriers. So like 7 C's is where some of the basic things are: be concise and say as much as is required, not more, not less. Be courteous, be considerate.
Sir, what do you think, sir? How much is the role of body language, smiling, and touch or something like that goes into communicating as a professional?
See, according to literature and some misquotes, it is even up to 55% of the whole message. Suppose I have to communicate something to you, then 55% of that communication takes place non-verbally. But I think, personally, I think that it depends upon the message and the situation. Even if I am doing the same thing with you again, then the role of different elements may be different, like verbal, non-verbal, paralinguistic. But as a general thumb rule, non-verbal communication is very important, which includes eye contact, facial expression, gesture, posture, appearance and distance. These are the basic elements, and peripheral elements are like touch, colors, etc.
Sir, when greeting somebody who is senior to you in professional setting, sir, going for a handshake or greeting only through verbal or something like good afternoon, so what is more preferred?
It depends upon the culture, and you can't say that in India we have only one culture.
Yes, sir.
In India we have multiple cultures. We have like urban and rural culture, difference between the different parts of country, and the cultural difference between professional and personal. We have different cultures, and you should have some good understanding of the cultural background. Suppose you are meeting with an American professor, or if you are an Arab. In the Arab countries, it is perfectly fine to shake hands with a professor as a student. Rather, it is considered very courteous. But you might have noticed that no one shakes hands with professors in the class or outside of the class in our culture.
Yes, sir.
So you have to be aware of this difference. And whenever you are meeting someone, always try to pay attention to, number one, what the cultural background of that person may be, and secondly, look at the dynamic feedback, how they are reacting, what they like and what they don't like.
Yes.
For example, you can adjust the distance. If you are aware, we all have a different personal space that is controlled by the culture and other circumstances. So we cannot exactly predict at what distance someone will be comfortable while talking. So just look, be careful. If that person is uncomfortable, then increase the distance. And if at a greater distance you think that the person is feeling disconnected from you, maybe decrease the distance a bit. So it's a dynamic process. It is not something we can write in a book in the form of mathematical formulae. That is why it is communication skills. Skill is something which is not necessarily mathematics. It is a part of human behavior.
So how did you acquire this understanding of, was it just experience, was it practice, and if practice, where did you practice? Because maybe as we are just starting off our journey right now in college, we would have a lot of these opportunities to go to conferences, to go to events, to talk to people. So what is the best way to like burn our hands without really
Best way to burn your hands is not to keep them safe. Actually, it is a joking remark, but also the truth that it's the best way to learn communication is hands-on approach. Go and communicate. And there are many aspects. Maybe the first aspect you can work upon is attitude. You should communicate with a positive attitude. If you think that the other person has nothing to offer, or if you have some negativity based upon stereotyping or any such other negative thing, or some ism, ageism, sexism or something, if you have preconceived notions in other ways, that will act as a barrier. So first of all, to be a good communicator, you have to be a good human being. And who is a good human being? Who does not believe in a lot of stereotyping and differences. Rather, they believe in unity of the human species and even beyond. It depends upon your definition, but at least uncontroversially, who believes in oneness and equality of human beings.
So as law students, we have to apply to internships, and so, sir, while applying for internships, could you tell us some best practices or some do's and don'ts while applying for an internship to make our application stand out?
First of all, you should really know what you are doing, like in every other thing. Like why you are applying, why you want this internship. Is it only for putting in the CV or for actually learning something, or because you feel excited about that field? I think a mixture of all three should be there. It is not that it should be only one thing. So there should be the motive of learning also prominently there. And it should excite you. Find the right place, not only the right brand. Brand is important. I am not saying that just shun the brand. So once you do that, you would study a lot about that organization, that firm, those people, their practices, their culture, their requirements, their perspective, their practices. Once you are in tune with that, then your application should reflect it. And especially in the interview, you should not appear as, sir, I don't really know anything, or madam, I don't really know anything about you. If you know about them, about their needs also, if you have some idea, and what your utility can be, if you can communicate this, actually how you sell yourself, in other words. And this selling will depend upon how well prepared you are, how much you are in control, as I said earlier. And this control can come with practice, this control will come with preparation, perception. So 3 P's. The perception, yes.
Perception of whom, us or the employee?
Everything. Perception of the reality, reality between you two.
Sir, would you recommend any book or some website or some YouTube videos which might help us in preparing for these, or helping us and become prepared to these interviews, or be better at professional communication?
There are hundreds and thousands of these books.
Yes.
With every bookseller, you can see some of them here
Yes.
at the back, but I will avoid naming them. The reason is simple, that I believe firmly in that saying that yasya nasti pragya tasya shastram karoti kim. If you don't have an enlightened mind, or a receptive mind at least, then no literature can be of any good. Take any book, but think upon it, ponder upon it. Make it an integral part of your thinking. It does not mean that program yourself.
Yes.
I do not mean that just follow it blindly. Rather, don't follow it at all. Take any book and don't follow it. What you should do is think about it and try to take only the things that your experience tells you to be useful or true.
Sir, when we are applying for these internships, at times the organization style or type is very different from one another. Maybe one is in policy while another is a corporate firm. So should we customize our CV with respect to every particular internship, or should it be one CV which is covering everything up?
See, this one size fits all approach is certainly not the best approach. You should have the designer approach
Yes.
if you are serious about something.
Yes.
And this is a thumb rule, but the reality is again in the middle. Both of these approaches have some benefits. Like you should have a patent or a sort of format, a platter with which you can share with minimal changes, modifications and effort. Why? Because that will save time, and for the places you are not very serious, you send that in bulk. But if you are serious about something, then what I said earlier, follow that. Survey and research that place a lot, its culture, work ethics, people, everything, their perception, their goals, aims and ambitions. You should know that, and then see how you fit into it. I am not telling you or teaching you to fib or to cheat those people or try to outsmart them, but if you fit somewhere, you see that you have a role and something unique, something creative, something they might not even have even thought of, or something they might have felt about, but no one might have been able to fulfill that gap. Try to create that niche, enter that niche.
How do you think about like niche, like spotting a niche, or be like finding a like avenues to create value? Like since your journey has been like across multiple organizations, so how have you gone about finding a niche and presenting that I am bringing value over in this particular domain?
I can tell you from the experience of this university, there were around 7 interviewers in my interview board, and there were many candidates. I don't remember the number, but it started at 9 a.m. in the morning, and it was on till the lunchtime also. I was the last candidate before the lunch. So there were many candidates, maybe for different subjects also. So I was asked that what I can do for the organization, and this is a law university. What is the role of someone who is from humanities? Then I told them that it is something which is very essential. The field that I am going to take up is an integral part of law, because law originated from humanities, and I have to reconnect the study of law with its roots. Secondly, that communication, language and literature, they are important for the students of law. Then I was asked that perhaps not much literature or training is available in this country. Then I said this is very much the role I will take upon myself. And I convinced the interview board, and they gave me the job, and I think I have kept my promise. I didn't cheat anyone there.
Yes.
So I meant it very sincerely, and I have followed it, and I think I have done my job. I am very satisfied. I have initiated the courses in law and communication here, for example,
Yes.
and customized program on law and culture, law and language. So 4 programs are there: law, language, law, literature, law and communication, law and culture.
So thank you so much for coming for this interview and giving us time for this interview. It was really insightful talking to you today.
Thank you. My pleasure.